So we really want to take a moment and talk about the process of constructive listening to your tune so that you can make the best choices to really hone it in and get the proper mix that you need without too much micro focus, because the whole point is to look at what's right for the tune itself, not necessarily what's right for you in your moment of feeling insecure or prideful about any specific performance on any specific track.
Which happens a lot. And it
Yeah.
happens to the most experienced, the best people.
All of us.
Including me and Sarah. So I think that one of the things that happens is that we know how to write great bass parts, we know how to write great horn parts, and there's this kind of feeling that we want to show off all of the stuff that we can do and that we know how to do in our arrangements. And that's like a super common thing. Or say you can do a Latin style arrangement. You can do a, and so there's
Right.
this kind of tendency to sort of focus on showing what you can do. But
Yeah.
the truth of it is that the simpler, I mean, a lot of songs, so most of the time that's kind of the knowledge, which is you start out quiet, the verse is quiet because we want to hear the story, the chorus gets really big and then it drops back down to the verse. But we've noticed that isn't really a set of rules. I mean, in other words, lately, we have songs that are pretty loud in the verse and get louder in the pre-chorus, and everything drops out in the
Right.
chorus. So how did they make that decision, right?
Right, and how did they consider the build? I think a lot of times it comes down to prosody. It also comes down to production choices and really looking at where the climactic moments are in the tune and where the points of just really focusing on the title are. I think that's something that a lot of modern tunes are doing, is sort of taking everything, from the higher and lower frequency ranges away in the chorus and just focusing on the vocal or some kind of mid-range part, and just that, because it's almost like, let's really look at what this song is about and focus on the lyric.
Yeah, so when, peak moments doesn't mean loudest.
Right.
So I think that's a really important thing to kind of internalize as an arranger, because there's this tendency to want to put everything in at that moment where we need to be focusing. But in fact, sometimes that can have the effect of kind of keeping people from hearing what's being said.
Now in the overdubbing process, you are free to overdub track after track after track and build and build and build to the point where sometimes you might find that everything just starts to sound really muddy. And I'm here to tell you, most of the time, you don't have more than 3 separate rhythms going on in any moment of a recording. You will have usually no more than 3 separate rhythms happening.
And if you listen to pop songs, certainly in the way that they're being recorded today, there usually is very little. There's one main rhythm part. There might be a couple of other ancillary parts. If it's a dance song, there'll be doot, doot.
Right.
But there isn't a lot of other stuff going on in a lot of parts of the song. So that thing of kind of simplicity and really focusing on what needs to be there so
Right.
that people are really going to hear and feel this song. And I think this is where we need to learn to confront our own tendency to be protective of our ideas.
Right.
Because I know that I always love all my ideas. But unfortunately, they're not always what's right for the song. So
Right.
making sure that all of the choices that we're making in the ultimate arrangement are really gonna be the best thing, not for you, or not for even for your
For your
voice,
friend,
but for your buddy who played guitar,
Right.
But for the song.
The song and the emotional impact of that song and the lyric meaning of that song. So paring everything down to the bare minimum of what you're trying to say, and all the parts that you end up keeping are supporting that.